Listen close. Hear that sound? Ain't no wind chimes, Charlie. That's the sighing of the cypress swamp, deep down in the heart of the low country, where the air hangs thick as Spanish moss, and the secrets are sweeter than gardenia petals, but twice as poisonous. Out on the edge of the blue horizon, where the sun rises up like a promise and sets like a debt, there was a tiny, tiny princess. She wasn't born with a crown of gold. She was born with a melody strung on her breath and a dance's rhythm in her thin, quick legs. All she ever wanted was the simple joy of the river cane rattle and the pure, easy motion of a dance for herself. But the earth is old, and men are greedy. They saw the light shining in her throat, and they built a songbird's cage round her. First, it was a little rickety thing put up on the dusty boards of the road show, a vaudeville stand. But then it grew. It grew into a shimmering silvered palace of light and shadow, and they put her right in the middle, demanding a harvest of joy. Sing, little princess, dance, little thing, the old men would crow from the dark corners. They measured her songs in dollars and her steps in contracts. And when her voice would tire, when her little girl tears would threaten to rust the gilded bars, they would come to her with little white bottles. "Here, darlin'," they'd purr, their voices slick as river mud. "A little bit of candy to keep you flying high. A little bit of candy to keep the sun in your smile." And so she learned to sing for her supper and her shelter, powered not by the pure well of her own soul, but by the fire and fever of the white powders and the bitter pills. They paid her fortunes, but they stole her simple, sweet song. Her childhood wasn't a time. It was a tireless, endless shift. The seasons turned slow and heavy, like a paddle wheel in the August heat. The princess grew from a trembling fawn to a grand, sorrowful woman. The cage grew with her, didn't it? But the silver had gone tarnished and the gold had flaked away to show the dull iron beneath. She sang better than ever before. Her voice had the lonesome, beautiful tremble of a soul who had seen too much moonlight and too many shadows. But the old men had found a newer, younger light to focus on, and they tossed her grand, heavy cage out into the cold yard. "She's too wild now," they muttered, adjusting their silk cravats. "The rhythm's gone wrong. She's broken." Truth was, the things they'd forced her to swallow to keep her small were the very chains that bound her. The bitter candy had become a hunger. It spoiled her sweetest chances at a settled life and twisted the reflection in her lover's eyes. She tried to make new films, bless her heart, but the shadow of the cage followed her. She'd miss her call. Her eyes would hold that distant, haunted look of someone who can't quite tell the dream from the waking. She fought the drugs that had become her keepers and the men who still tried to profit from her struggle. But the fight left her bone tired. She was a grand, beautiful magnolia blossom, heavy with rain, and her beauty was almost unbearable because of the deep, deep sadness in her eyes. Her music was a Simon now, a wail of joy and pain all tangled up. But still, she was singing from the cold, hard ground where they'd thrown her cage away. Finally, the princess in the songbird's cage threw the gate of the cage open herself. She stepped out onto the stage in front of the people who truly knew her song, those who had felt the weight of the world on their own shoulders, those whose hearts beat a little bit different from the rest. They didn't want the perfect, drugged-up puppet. They wanted the broken, glorious, real woman. She sang for them in grand halls, and she even tried to bring her song into their homes on the talking box. But even in her freedom, the old men were still lurking, whispering, trying to tie new strings to her tired hands and take a cut of her broken heart. The bitter candy was a relentless ghost, and it was hard to fight a ghost when it had lived in your blood for so long. She danced, she smiled, she fought the shadow day after day, year after year. She was a warrior in a gown of sequins. But the poison they'd forced upon her from the time she was a baby girl finally won the battle. One lonesome morning, the princess in the Songbird's cage took her last breath and flew from the husk of her body. The wind carried the news not like a shriek, but like a deep, mournful drum beat. The people who loved her, the ones who saw their own hard-won battles reflected in her shimmering tears, they wept. They wept like the skies over the low country during a summer squall. But they didn't just weep. They wept and then they rose. They rose because the princess proved that even when the world tries to cage you, even when it drugs your spirit and steals your youth, your song matters. Her tragedy became their torch. Every time they had to face a hard morning, every time they stood up for who they were against a cold world, they remembered that beautiful, broken songbird, and they kept on going. The low country wind still carries her song, gentle and strong. And sometimes, when you listen close, you can hear her voice on the breeze telling the people, "You are enough. Now just go on."